نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تلهكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله ومن يفعل ذلك فأولئك هم الخاسرون. وأنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي أحدكم الموت فيقول رب لولا أخرتني إلى أجل قريب فأصدق وأكن من الصالحين ولن يؤخر الله نفسا إذا جاء أجلها والله خبير بما تعملون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله. اللهم السلام. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. لا إله إلا الله وحده عبد الله. لا إله إلا الله مخلصين له الدين. اللهم لا مانع لما أعطيت ولا معطي لما منعت. Assalamu alaikum. How's everyone doing? Inshallah. Everyone looks like they had a long day. Inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له واشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد ان سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه ومن تبع باحسان الى يوم الدين. اما بعد. اللهم لا علم لنا الا ما علمتنا فعلمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا ارحم الراحمين. We thank Allah Azza wa Jal, the most gracious, the most merciful, for giving us an opportunity to sit here together and reflect over the akhirah and reflect over the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and ponder over them in hope that we may elevate in our iman and in our status with Allah Azza wa Jal and connect with Allah Azza wa Jal. To continue off from our last class, we talked about signs of the hour. In the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, where he mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned a few signs of the hour. Now, signs of the hour are of two categories. One is signs that are minor signs, and then there are major signs. As for the minor signs, majority of them have occurred, and we see them all around us. But the major signs we have yet to see. For when the first major sign is seen, then that which comes after will be very, very rapid. Meaning one after another, the major signs will occur. And these hadith, sometimes they put fear in a person's heart. And sometimes they put worry in a heart. And a person ponders how close we are. But this type of worry and this type of fear is a healthy fear. It's a healthy worry. Why? Because this worry helps us become closer to Allah in our day-to-day life. When we roam around and we see these signs, we reflect how close we are. And when you reflect you're close to a deadline, you become more conscious of it. And therefore, a person, when he sees these signs, he realizes that time is not on his side. So we went through a couple of the signs of the hour, and the last one we covered was the Prophet ﷺ said that earthquakes will increase. And there's something I want to add to this from the last session, and that is, majority of times when there's an earthquake, when there's a calamity, most people, they tie these calamities to natural disasters. You will hear this often, that this was a natural disaster, or this was the shift in the tectonic plates. And they would try to link it with one thing or another and not connect it with Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is without a doubt, it is carelessness and it's compound ignorance. Why? Because a person reaches a stage where no matter how many signs Allah shows a person, they don't connect the dots. And they don't realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is serious. And yet they continue to make excuses just so they can fulfill their desire and their nafs. And that is why when you hear these type of arguments that try to link disasters to something of nature, and we don't believe in nature, we believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. We don't believe that nature did anything, because nature in itself doesn't have any power. What is nature? Nature is a name to take you away from the remembrance of Allah. It's a way to involve you in shirk and connect that which is from Allah to other than Allah. So when we see these signs, we reflect that this is from Allah and no one else. And no one has the qudra to do this. Not a leaf falls from this tree except with the permission of Allah Azza wa Jal. The stars, the sun, the moon, every day asks for permission before it comes up. Nothing happens in this universe except with the permission of Allah, including our heartbeat, including everything we see and everything we own is in the possession of Allah. Allah can do what He wants with it. And when we recognize this, then we give the power to Allah Azza wa Jal. And we don't take the power of Allah and give it to others. Then the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَيَتَقَارَبَ الزَّمَانِ, that time will pass quickly. And how truthful was the Prophet ﷺ? How truthful was he? Days, weeks, months, year passes, and we don't even recognize. We don't even realize. Time is passing so quickly that you forget the age of your kids. And that's no doubt that this is barakah taken out of time. Another way we can connect this is that the world will shrink. And we see this as if the whole world is one country. And a person travels from one side of the US to another and comes back in the same day. Naturally, what would take weeks happens in a few hours. There's no doubt that there's fitna. There's a test. And these tests are a sign of worry. Because when a person's life is passing quickly, what does that mean? That means that they're not taking advantage of it. SubhanAllah, it's surprising for anyone who goes for Umrah. For someone who goes for Umrah. Their days are so long. The day, it is so long from one salat, because you're occupied in the remembrance of Allah all day long. From one salah to the next salah, you join a dars, you go, and you accomplish what you can in the whole day, and even more. But the day is long. Why? Because you're busy. But when we come back to our normal life, our weeks pass by and we don't even realize it. And we say, it's already summer, it's already Ramadan, didn't we just have Eid the other day? And the life is going by like this. And this is worrying, because life is going to go as it is. We can't stop time from continuing. But a question to ask yourself, what have you accomplished in these time frames? From one Ramadan to the next, from one Jum'ah to the next. And that's why Umar radiallahu anhu said, حَاسِبُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ قَبْلَ أَن تُحَاسِبُوا. He said, hold yourself into account before you're held into account. So we ask ourselves in our day, what did we do? What did we do that made our day something to be proud of? What did we do in our week that we exceeded in actions from the week prior? And if this is not the answer, if you don't have an answer for this, then time is passing you by. And you see, just like our generation, the ones before who came, they lived just like us. And time was passing by. And time will pass us by, and every one of us one day will not be here. And we know this. But how do we utilize our time? How do we take advantage of our time? And then the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَتَظْهَرَ الْفِتَنِ, and afflictions will appear. Fitna, in the past, fitna was khafi. You would never see fitna. If someone wanted to make a sin, they would do it in their own privacy. You would rarely see sins in the open. But in the days that we live in, and the spread of social media, how apparent is sin? We see it the second we leave our house. No matter where we go, we see people sinning. And they're proud of sinning. And they spread their sins and tell people about their sins as if it's something to be proud of. Not realizing that they're fulfilling the prophecy of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is very, very common in our days. The Prophet ﷺ said, وَيَكْثُرُ الْهَرَجُ وَهُوَ الْقَتَلُ, and killing will be on the increase. Today, you see people being murdered for no reason. For no reason, they're being murdered. And the person, they don't even know why they're killing. And no one knows. There's wars that come about. Hundreds, thousands, millions of people die. And no one knows what's the root cause. And the people who are being killed don't even know, why are we being killed? What is it that we did? In the past, if you wanted to kill, a person would need to get a gun. And that gun only had a few bullets. But with the advancements of technology, you see within a split second, thousands of people are annihilated. This was not thought of in the past. No one would ever think that there will be a day where in a split second you can murder thousands of people. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ, he said that killing will increase. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, وَحَتَّى يَكْثُرَ فِيكُمُ الْمَالِ فَيَفِيض حَتَّى يُهِمُّ رَبَّ الْمَالِ مَا يَقْبَلُ صَدَقَتَهُ. That wealth will increase in abundance. So much wealth that a wealthy person will be worried that no one will take his sadaqah or his zakat. And whenever they present it to someone, a time will come, you'll be looking around to give your zakat to people. And the Prophet ﷺ said in another narration that they will say, had you come to me yesterday, I would be able to take it. But now I don't need it. If we look at our own environment, our own cities, whenever you want to give zakat, you're wondering where to go. So you can rarely find someone locally, so you have to send it abroad. There'll be a time that everyone would have wealth. And this is not a good thing, because having wealth in itself is not praiseworthy. But what you do with that wealth makes that wealth become praiseworthy. That wealth in itself is a fitna. How many of people who don't have access to wealth. And one day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests them with wealth. They forget their origin. They forget that when they were young and their parents were when they were back with their parents, they had nothing. They forget that they had a small house growing up, but Allah blessed them with wealth, and now they have everything. And they forget that Allah Azza wa Jal gave them everything. And they feel inside that I accomplished everything. This is me. I got my degree. I was the one that put in all the hard work. And they forget the aid of Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that blessed them with everything. That position that you have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitated and made it easy for you. And the people get wealth and they get wealth. And that wealth, they use their own wealth to destroy themselves. وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ. So if a person is receiving more wealth, they're increasing in their wealth, they should ask themselves, is this a fitna for me? Or has Allah blessed me? And you only know if it's a fitna for you or if Allah has blessed you, depending how you use your wealth. Because wealth, it can either help a person or it can harm a person. And finally, the Prophet ﷺ said, and we'll stop here, وَحَتَّى يَتَطَاوَلُ النَّاسُ فِي الْبُنْيَانِ. And people, they will compete with one another in constructing high buildings. In the past, you never ever seen among the Bedouins anything of the sort. But now you look, 20 stories, 30 stories, 40 stories. This is a fitna. What do you need this big building for? What's the point of you building this building? It's no reason but to have pride and say, I'm better than the next person. They build it, so I'm going to build a higher one, so I'm better than you. That's their only reason. And this is a fitna. They forget that Allah Azza wa Jal created everyone equal. We should not have pride and put down others. For indeed Allah gave us everything, and Allah can take everything back from us. And this is a great test that we see in our time, which comes back to having pride. It's not the building that the Prophet ﷺ is speaking about, but it's the reason, the intention that building is being erected, which the Prophet ﷺ is referring to. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bless us and make it easy for us. When you see these type of signs, it is extremely important that we seek refuge. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to protect us and protect our kids, and not forget that we are very weak. Not forget that our hearts lie for Allah Azza wa Jal. We can be the best of people one day, and this fitna will take us up, and before we know it, we're consumed and we don't know where we are. So when we see these fitnas, we turn to Allah and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection and for ease. جزاكم الله خير. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.